Do you want to just start by explaining how you came to Fresno? Are you from here?
I came here when I was in elementary school.
Okay.
The last year of elementary school to Del Mar. I did all of my schooling here, including college, where I got something called the Houston Sunderland Memorial Prize, which was a scholarship that paid for my entire time there, and everything else in my life. For 4 years, I had a free ride. It was bad.
Yeah.
And it was named after Sunderland was an old mayor of Fresno, and he had a daughter who went off to Hollywood to seek her fame and fortune, and instead married Walter Houston, the actor. And so she decided to do a memorial prize in the names of her father and her deceased husband. And I was the first recipient of it, and it was just an enormous amount of money. I mean, it was the third largest scholarship at Fresno State.
Why did you stay in Fresno when you could?
Right after college, I traveled in Europe for about a year, and then I moved to Boston for 3 years, where I lived and worked as a commercial artist and a regular artist. I had a studio as well. And then I lived in Marin for 2 years, and in Berkeley for 2 years, and in Los Angeles for 2 years, and several other places that I can't even remember anymore. And then came back to Fresno about 15 or 20 years ago, I think it was.
Can you describe the art that you do?
It has changed through the years somewhat, but my MO these days, on the drawings that I do, and this show is mostly ink drawings, colored and black ink drawings, is that I scribble on a piece of paper. I try not to even look at the paper while I'm doing it. And recently I've even started taking 3 or 4 colored pens all at the same time and scribbling on the paper. But I try to watch television or something while I'm doing it, so I'm not thinking too much about scribbling. And then when I am done scribbling enough, I look at the paper and see where the image seems to be to me, and I bring it out and leave the other stuff go. So on my drawings, you often will see this fine tracery of the lines, which are the lines that I decide to not accentuate. But it gives a kind of a background scribble look to the whole thing. But the pieces themselves become very distinct.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about the art scene in Fresno?
I have some kind of critical things to say about it. It seems to me that when I was 19 years old and going to college, and Fresno was about 300,000 instead of 500,000 people, that it was a far, far more sophisticated city than it is now. Still, it's a shame that in a city the size of Fresno that we don't have a more vibrant art scene. Kansas City, which is a similarly sized city, has a world-class art scene in it. And Denver too. I mean, these are places that you read about in the art books and stuff, the museums that they have. There's no reason why Fresno, with its tremendous wealth from agribusiness, shouldn't have similar institutions, but they don't. And currently, the Fresno Art Museum is experiencing a lot of financial difficulties, and I think they're going to make it, but still, it's another index as to the disinterest in the arts in Fresno right now. I think with the revitalization of downtown, that's going to change to a great extent. Galleries like this, and of course there's the Fig Tree Gallery and all of that whole group of galleries over there on the other side of downtown.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's great things being done, and there's great shows, but it's not as vibrant as it once was.
Yeah. Do you think that the art hop has helped?
Yes, and since this gallery is so beautiful, we have a tremendous turnout, usually 300 to 500 people on Art Hop night. Yes, I think that was a great institution. That is getting the people who are interested in not just culture, but kind of community.
How do you think you fit into all of it?
It's almost like a childhood thing. I mean, since I started at the age of 15, and this is the place where I started, it feels like home base to me, actually.
It sounds like you have a really deep appreciation for this space here.
I do.
Does that at all influence your work?
This is a site-specific work. And so I wanted it to be 8 feet by 8 feet so that it would take up this entire wall.
Okay.
And be also something that, since it's so close to the front, that would really grab people immediately when they walked in.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it shows on the camera, but when you walk, this thing has a life all its own.
For people who maybe want to come out on Art Hop but don't know exactly much about art, how would you describe this show?
I would describe this show as mostly non-objective, which is to say no subject matter whatsoever. Figurative or non-figurative. They're almost all non-figurative. But there's 4 or 5 pieces that are very clearly a particular subject matter. So if you shy away from things that have no subject matter, this might not be the show for you, but perhaps the 4 pieces that are will be enough. I was the docent coordinator at the Fresno Art Museum for a year, and people feel very intimidated by art, especially non-figurative art, because they feel like they're not understanding it. And so it was my job as the docent coordinator to show people that, well, the docents that I was over, to try and have them inform people that they needn't approach it on any other level except what it is: the color, the composition, how it strikes you emotionally, if you think it's pretty, if you think it's ugly. Just deal with whatever comes your way when you're looking at non-figurative work. You don't have to understand the whole history of abstract expressionism or non-objective art. Just take it for what it is.